I said, Avery, I'm about to go do this podcast about fatherhood. Anything you want me to say? Like, I thought she was going to say, I don't know what the fuck I thought she was going to say. But she started talking. I was like, wait. Can I record you? And she was like, yeah. So she sat, bro, and she talked about it. She was like, yo, sometimes kids be overreacting. Maybe I should wait. Yeah, I can wait. I'll wait.
All right, you cool?
Yeah.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of The Awakened Soul. And I have a guest in the building, in the studio, who I've been dying to get a hold of on this podcast. It feels like for years, bro.
Bro, it's been years in the making. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's been years. We met like 2 or 3 years ago. It's crazy, bro. But I don't even, bro, you got so many titles. What don't you do, bro? The mayor of Columbus, man.
That's crazy, bro. I don't even like that title no more, bro. Like, people say it, and I know it's affectionate, you know what I mean? But I don't like it because there's a lot of responsibility when, like, you know, you represent like a people and whatnot. And I don't know, like, I like to call myself just a boy who loves the city. You know, I'm born and raised here in Columbus and whatnot. And everything else just kind of like unfurled from that. And like, when people be like, yo, you do a lot, it's because I feel like love is a verb, you know what I mean?
I feel it. It absolutely is,
like,
bro.
This is just me in action and whatnot. So I'm just a kid that loves Columbus, you know what I mean?
That's what's up, man. And one of the things, like, first, I didn't even introduce you. It's Malcolm in the building, man.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Like, you do a lot, but I know it's all from love. But one of the first things, like, when I came to Columbus was right before I became a creative. And then as I started podcasting and collabing, bro, your name kept coming up.
That's crazy.
And then I don't even remember how we finally first got in touch but like, I remember when I first linked up with Socially Unacceptable, and then Deuce, I did an episode with. Yeah. And then Cloth Talk podcast as well. And like, your name kept coming up, and I'm like, I have never met this dude. And then we finally had that first meeting at what's it called? The Upper Cup? Is that where it's called?
Yeah,
man. And we had our first meeting there. It was just like, bro, I felt it. Like your love for the city and everything. And that's one thing that I love, and I always, and even though I'm a transplant, that I talk about, like, people are asleep on Columbus, and Columbus has one of the best creative cultures, period, bro.
Yeah. I don't know. My feelings have. All right, you caught me. Let me just be clear on my John Mayer shit, bro. Like, you found me at a real interesting time or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, we in the middle of a pandemic, and like, I also feel like it's a transitional period for the culture.
For sure.
I think one thing that hasn't really changed at all is that Columbus is still has a lot to offer.
For sure.
And I think that it's changing. You know, like, it's changing, and I think that it should change. You feel me? Like, I think that healthy environments are constantly growing and evolving and whatnot. And so I can't say that I want to be precise with it. It's just different now. Columbus is different now even than it was like 5 years ago when I first took over Flypaper, you know? Yeah. And I said, yo, I'm going to love Columbus out loud, and I'm going to be unapologetic about my city. And I still am very much. It's a little different now. The conversations are different, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I'm honored, bro. I'm humbled. I'm glad to be here, honestly, bro. Like, and it's really weird for me too, because, you know, I host several podcasts. Yep. I don't often find myself in the guest seat. Matter of fact, this might be, make sure I ain't lying, this might be my first podcast that I'm on somebody else's joint. So I'm excited to do this, bro.
For sure, man. And then the topic that we have to talk about. So I've been dying to do this topic forever, and I specifically have saved this to have this conversation with you, bro. Like, when I'm talking, when I mean that this was the same topic that I wanted to talk to you about when I first hit you up like a year ago about being on the podcast.
That's crazy.
And it's because, like, I feel like, and I'm glad everything happens at the time where it's supposed to happen at, right? Because when I first asked you, the only thing that I really did as an entrepreneur was this podcast and like branching out. Since then, I started my own photography and videography company, and like, so I understand the grind a different way. Yeah. But I feel like everybody nowadays, like, we put this importance on being an entrepreneur, having your own, and it's great that that you can have your own avenue and work for yourself and support your family. But I think a lot of people now have romanticized the idea of being an entrepreneur. Yeah. And I wanted to talk about it from this point, like, why entrepreneurship isn't for everybody.
Bruh. Like, that's the thing, man. The romance of entrepreneurship, of being a creative, of doing your own podcast, like all these types of things. It sound good, it look good, and it look effortless if you're good at it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you've been doing this for a while now.
Yep.
You feel me? And I remember my first time coming over here and seeing the growth and development from then until now. It was impressive. You had an impressive setup and everything back then. But now it's like even crazy out there. I'm like, yo, you feel me? And it's like, I know that this isn't even like your final point, but if somebody's just looking at it, it's like, well, how hard is it to sit in front of a mic and talk and share your opinion and opine about stuff and have controversial, I got a controversial view, you know what I mean? LeBron James is over. Like, all right, bro. Like, there's so much more to all of this and whatnot. Yeah. And I think that it is real easy to look at these things and just think, oh, they can do it, I can do it too. And it's like, bro, you're only seeing, I can't even say the final product because it's like, you're not even seeing the final product. You're seeing like a work in progress after like hours and hours and hours of work have already been put into it. So,
yeah, especially like with podcasting, like people, I hate it when people say like, oh, I could talk about anything, I should start a podcast. It's like, it's not that simple. We're not even going to get to talking about mic placement and actually recording and editing because like, people don't really realize everything that goes into that shit. And I had no idea when I started either, bro. Like I look back at it now and I think about the irrational confidence I had to have to start a podcast and decide, I'm gonna do all the editing and shit myself. Just crazy, man.
And beyond that, like, I could talk for hours. I talk to my niggas all day, every day. Like, this is easy. It's one thing to be in a room with some folk and like have a conversation organically unfold. It's an entirely different story having to host a conversation.
Exactly.
You know, to facilitate one, to have a guest on, and you know, if they're super talkative, it's like, all right, letting them talk, but also making sure that they don't ramble on and lose the attention of the viewer, or if they don't talk at all, it's like we're creating a comfortable environment for them to like be able to open up behind the mic. Like that's a real skill. Or check this, like if somebody has like a wild ass view or opinion and whatnot, they're going left or going right or however way they're going, like staring them back so that you are staying focused.
Exactly.
Like, bro, all of that's is navigating a conversation, not just like sitting down and talking.
Exactly.
Like, it's trying to put together a product in real time that you can then release out to the public that people are going to want to listen to. And want to engage with and want to respond to. And then when they're done, go and tell somebody else about it. And then come back next week or however long it takes for your next episode to come out and want to listen to it all over again. Like, bro, it's not easy. It looks easy. It's not easy. And I think that's really like a microcosm of entrepreneurship in general. Like, it looks easy. Part of that is marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, part of that is because entrepreneurs make it look like it looks easy, and I don't know. That's a whole nother story or whatnot.
And I think too, for me, one of the things that I realized is that when I got into photography and in the videography joint, like the first time I ever did a wedding, I remember people were saying like, they were like, "Oh, that looks amazing. Like, did you film that with your phone?" No, nigga, it is not, no. But even then, like, I think like the ease of access to technology has made people think that let me not say gateway, but the price of entry is so much lower than what it really is to do some of this stuff. And so like when I did my first short film, people were like, "Oh, that looks great, XYZ." And I know people like have thought about doing short films too, and then like you don't see the 12 hours that went into before I even started thinking about rolling on the camera to do a short film, or like the hours that had to go in for me to even learn this shit. Cause it's like, I thought it was as simple as like buy a camera, you turn it on, you record some shit, and it's not, bro.
But peep this. So, you know, Burn, we do Orange Soda together. And he doesn't use headphones when he DJs and stuff now. You feel me?
Wow.
Yeah, when we first, a lot of people don't understand this or know this. I think we're far enough away from it, we could talk about it. When we first started doing Orange Soda, the reason why we were doing Orange Soda, he had just moved back to Columbus from Cali, and he had been here for a year, and he wasn't getting booked the way that he should for him to have been DJing for 10 plus years. You feel me? It's like, bruh, like I'm a veteran. Like I just came back from Cali. I was DJing for Chris Brown. You know what I'm saying? Like I have enough talent and experience to be able to do it. He wasn't getting booked. I say all that to say that if you come to a party, you see him DJing, he don't use headphones. He Like he just does it from skill and expertise and whatnot. And you think, oh, that's something I can do. Yep. It's like, no, bro. Like he's put in over a decade. He's put in those 10,000 hours to have that expertise. So like even when you see people talking about, oh, I shot this on the phone or I shot this on using whatever, it's like, bro, even if you have a certain level of expertise, then yeah, you can put out a high quality product using like the simplest of tools. But I don't know. I digress.
No, I mean you're right, because it always goes back to the skill. It's not the tools. Like these camera, these phones, everything, like the microphones, everything is a tool. But if you learn the skill that goes behind it, like I've learned audio editing so good that you can put me in front of a damn potato. If it records, I'm gonna figure out how to get the best audio out of it. It may take me a long ass time to do it, but like that took nothing but sitting down and forcing myself to learn EQ and all this shit. And that shit is not easy, man.
Yeah.
And you know, another part of like you do Orange Soda, Flypaper Magazine, like everything. Yeah. So like, what is it? What was the moment in which being an entrepreneur and doing stuff out on your own that you realized, you know what, I'm pretty good at this? Because I think we all suffer from a version of imposter syndrome or just self-doubt as well. What was that moment for you?
Wow, you just asked 3 different questions.
I know, right?
Know if you realize.
I know.
All right, if you can allow me, I'll try to answer all of those joints, right? Starting with imposter syndrome. Starting with imposter syndrome. Just the other day, I tweeted about it. I was like, bro, part of imposter syndrome that you don't really talk about often is like being afraid to talk about your accomplishments. Everything. Like even to this day, like I'm even on this podcast right now, I don't like talking about all the shit that I do, bro. Like, because in my mind, it's like, bro, I have so much more to do. Like, I haven't done shit yet in the grand scheme of things. To me, you feel me? People come, oh, like, you do you inspire me. Like, oh, this is the reason why I do this. Or like, yo, I wouldn't be doing this if you hadn't done that. And like all this type of stuff. And I'm like, for real? Like I just thought, I don't know what I thought that was. And I think that's because of the idea of like, damn, like I haven't done enough, or like, you know, I am pretending, or like this is like an imposter or whatever. Like I haven't, like I shouldn't be in this realm and stuff right now. I know it's gonna sound kind of contradictory to what I just said, but I talk my shit a lot about what I'm doing, about what I've done, my accomplishments, because, well, one, it's two reasons, 3 reasons. One of it is a reminder to myself, like when I am having that imposter syndrome, like nigga, you really have a resume. You know what I'm saying? Like if you didn't do anything else or whatever, you could put your resume up against some of the people that you look up to.
For sure.
You know, and like I need to constantly remind myself about that. Second, you know, shout out to Hov. He's like, yo, I don't mean to boast, but damn if I don't brag, you know, they gonna act like they ain't on that. And part of that is like, yo, just until it gets said out loud, then it's not real to other people maybe. And so it's like I have to remind niggas like, yo, I don't care what you think about me. I don't care. You want to talk about my bandana and my hat and all that type of shit, or you know, or whatever you want to say, whatever. It's like it's cool, but also know, like, this is who you're talking to. And then the third part, I mean, it's just marketing, like
for sure,
brand building it and letting people know, like, yo, this is the type of space that I'm in, and you know, this is what I've done up until this point. Yeah. So if I say I'm about to do this next, like, you can trust me. It's a little bit of credibility building and stuff. But to answer your question the way that you asked it originally, my first time that I realized I was good at being an entrepreneur, that I could really do this shit, was when I was 8 years old. My dad was an entrepreneur, and he sold pictures. And he was a street well, among other things, he was a street vendor. You know, just like going out to fairs and events, festivals, and all that, and just selling pictures. Matter of fact, you know, when you go to the Ohio State Fair, and you know they have like all the photo booths and all that type of stuff. Like my dad was a pioneer of that. Like, he was the first one to do that shit.
That's what's up.
He was one of the first like club photographers and stuff here in the city. It's like, brother, here's these people. They're out here. They're having, you know, these great ass nights or whatever, and when you go home, all you have is the memory. It's like, but what if I were able to give them something to help them to remember? This is obviously before smartphones and all that. So he took, he bought like little printers, and he would take pictures and he would print them out there. And it's like, here's a keepsake for you to like remember it. His company was called Memories.
That's crazy.
It's like on some Shakespeare shit. Yeah. Like God gave us memories so we could have roses in December, and like that was his business. And I'm a little ass kid or whatever, and I didn't appreciate it all the time when I was younger. But now that I'm older, like I look back, I see what he was trying to do, and so it's like I could retroactively like appreciate it, kind of. He was just trying to spend some time with me or whatever. Yeah. It's like, all right, I gotta go work. I'm a hustler. I gotta go make this money. And so I got this kid with me, Yeah. All right, let me show him how to work and stuff too. Matter of fact, that's how my dad got my mom. Shit's crazy. Like my brother, he's 9 years older than me, and he would always bring him into the library every Saturday. My mom was a librarian at the time, and like my mom, like you didn't see a lot of black dads doing that type of shit back then. And so my mom was like, yo, who is this guy that's always like bringing his son to the library, blah, blah, blah. And my dad actually sent my brother over to talk to my mom one day, and he was like, yo, can my dad get your number, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, he told my mom 3 things. He said, if there's 3 things I can teach my kid, so I'm going to teach them how to love God, how to love learning, and how to make money and shit. And like that was like core to him or whatever. It was like everything about him. So when I was of age, we would be, down in Daytona Beach or down in Augusta or Myrtle Beach or here in Columbus or Cincinnati or Indianapolis, Detroit, like all these different places or whatever. And he would sell pictures. I wasn't good enough to take pictures. My shit, like, head would be cut off and all that. My brother was dope, but I wasn't good enough to take pictures. So instead, we would go and buy like these cases of water, cases of pop, and all that type of shit. And I'm just selling it to people. And like, there's a picture of me just like counting like stacks or whatever, bro. Like when I'm like my daughter's age now, you feel me?
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, I hated it. I hate it. Matter of fact, it's probably why I don't like making money. Well, excuse me. I'm really good at making money. It's probably why I'm not driven by the love of money, is because like I felt like, that time that I wanted to just spend with my dad, play football or some shit, it was like, oh, we out hustling or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But even though I hated it, I know I was good at it. And I knew how to talk to strangers. I knew how to like give them something that made them want to give me their money. You feel me?
I feel that.
And that's really what it all boils down to, at least in the capitalistic society. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And like, I love that you said how, you're good at making money, but you don't do it for the love of money, because that will make people burn out. Like I would have burnt out years ago if this was about, like, if it was all about the money. It's the love of creating for me. Like even with doing my photography shit, like there's nothing like when you hand a bride and a groom a packet of photos and you see the look on their face, like, goddamn.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not doing it for free.
Right.
But at the same time, like, seeing that joy and being able to immortalize those moments for them gives me so much joy. And so, like, and that's another thing. Like, people will try to get into this because they think they're gonna make a whole bunch of money doing it. And that's podcasting, that's any form of entrepreneurship or whatever else. And then, like, even if you get to the place of being very profitable with it, you got to put in, like you said, 10,000 hours. You got to put in so many hours into it that I don't think people are really prepared for how much work it really takes before you start making money.
Bro, or even beyond that, like I don't know if you're built to be able to, like, there's a lot of outside factors that you don't even take into consideration when you're building something. Yeah. There's a lot of unknowns, and it requires like a unfathomable amount of like belief in yourself. Like, it's almost like narcissistic. Matter of fact, it's borderline. It's like, bro, like, I'm somebody that can go and do this thing that nobody else can do. I can offer some shit out to the world that ain't nobody else offering. And like, I mean, you just have to be a little psycho to be able to do that. And then 2, it takes an incredible amount of humility It's a lot of like swallowing your tongue. It's checking your ego, because at the end of the day, if you are starting a business, it's not about you. It's not about what you feel. It's about what is the most healthy way that you can like build your shit. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember there's a lot, bro. There's been a lot of like eating crow and stuff that like I've had to do, or like people be like, yo, you know, nobody likes you, or like nigga they ain't fucking with you. I'm like, bro, it doesn't matter if they fuck with me. Like, that's not what this is about. Or oh, you gonna let him talk to you like that? It's like, bro, that is not what this is about. This is not about how Malcolm White individually feels. You feel me? This is not about the building the brand of A Keys. This is about our mission and what we're trying to do here, and whether or not we're moving the needle in that way.
That's true.
Yeah, like, and that's the part that you don't really talk about. Like, it's a lot of time, a lot of energy, but it's like, what's your North Star? What's your why? You know, for real, like what you said about the money. I mean, if you luck up and you hit a lick and like you just have like a real profitable business and that's all it's about, it's like, all right, yeah, cool. That can be your mission, your purpose and whatnot. But for me, like none of this shit, actually, everything that I've done since 2014, 15 has been like low-key accidental. Like I didn't really ask for none of it. I mean, I kind of did, but I didn't, you know? Yeah, I just didn't. It just, I saw a need, or I saw a way that I wanted to live my life and said, well, how can I make that happen? And then like shit just kind of fell into place. Like I knew, for example, that I didn't want to go and work in corporate America. Excuse me. I wanted to be a part of building something from the ground up. And that was 2014, immediately after graduating from college. Every job that I've had, like my entire life now, has been me on the ground level, part of building teams and stuff.
Yeah.
Know? And like I take pride in that, because it's like, all right, well, I was helping to like make this shit like come to life and fruition. If I was chasing money, like, bro, that's not the way to do it. You know, like,
I feel it.
Like, how do you like start doing something there ain't no budget and stuff behind it? So,
yeah, I mean, and it's amazing how many things you make happen when you're an entrepreneur, and the passion's there that you had. You don't have the money to do. Like, and then you look back and you like, the fact that I pulled this off with $5 in a dream, I don't know how the hell I did it,
bruh. That's facts, man. And you know, that's another thing, is that I think that people think that the only type of currency that's out there is money, and that's just not facts.
That's not at all.
Matter of fact, I think that money might be one of the least relevant forms of currency. I mean, first of all, it's made up. Like, it's all imagination. It's like on one big inside joke that we're all like just agreeing to laugh at. You feel me?
For sure.
Because it doesn't mean, it's a promissory note. Like when we exchange dollars, and we're not even exchanging dollars anymore. We're exchanging like ones and nos. Like, I mean, if you want to get super nerdy with it, like when you send a cash app, that's just code.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It says, oh, now you have a certain amount or whatever. Like, how's that any different than the amount of money you might make in like Grand Theft Auto or some shit?
That is true. And we're getting closer and closer to that.
Right. What isn't made up, well, I guess, I mean, it kind of is, but what I think it may be more valuable is experience. Like, knowing how to do something. Like, know how, like, if, yeah, I do have like a full-time job and stuff now. If I lost that job, I wouldn't trip, because like I know how to go and do a lot of things that are profitable that like I can then turn around and generate revenue from to pay my bills, make sure my daughter's needs and stuff are taken care of. If I want extra money, like I know how to apply my skills and my expertise to turn around and go and make money. You know, like that's that hustler shit or whatever. But even more than experience is influence. Like
that's probably the biggest form of currency, if you being
in my opinion, like influence is something that you can't buy, bro. Like I mean, you could buy presence, maybe you can buy reach, possibly, saturation and everything, but being able to sway other people's like opinions, their minds, their hearts, their values, the way that they think. Like that is something that is low key and valuable. And like if these projects that you say like, oh, like maybe I only made like $5 and stuff off of it, but I made this indescribable amount of influence. It's like, bro, that's a win. That's a huge win because then you can go and leverage that elsewhere. You know,
for sure. Connections, like
connections.
Like,
that's another one.
That would, if you know the right people, you can get in some doors that you ain't got no business being in, and that's period. Man.
You can get in doors that you can't buy. Like, bro, there's rooms I've been in that there's no price tag on that room. Bro. Like, you can't pay for it. You know,
conversations, and I know the whole like dinner with Jay-Z thing, but not taking that like the social media aspect of that, but like having a dinner with somebody and being able to sway them and have that conversation. Sometimes, whether if a business deal evolves from it or not, that conversation is more valuable than any degree or anything else. Period. That you can have.
Yeah.
So, and that's what is the difference between being an entrepreneur and just being somebody who has a business and making some money. Because those aren't the same thing. They really aren't the same thing. Like you can be a business owner and not be an entrepreneur. So. And I think, we live in this, like you said, everything's romanticized now, and because everybody sees the result. Social media is a big ass con when you think about it, because most people don't post the work. They don't post the days where they were sitting in the office bagging up T-shirts to sell, and they thought about quitting the shit because they weren't making any fucking money. And so, like, it just. I love the space that we're in. I love that we're all connected, and that if you use social media and whatever else, right, you can build so many connections with people you've never been in the same room with. But I think it gives these people this false idea of the work that it takes to be there. And I think we need to be more transparent about the work. And because you're not thinking about it when you're putting in the work to get to your I don't even want to say peak because I haven't hit my damn peak remotely yet.
Right.
But like. I didn't think to say, hey, let me post about me learning how to do this fucking photography or EQ shit because I'm too focused on the fucking work.
You see, I'm a little different. You know, I'm a little different in that regard.
Bro, you are the most open motherfucker that I've and I don't mean that negatively at all. But I mean like somebody can watch your social media and know and learn your whole thought process of the way you work through it. And I gotta applaud you for that openness because that's something that I don't have yet,
bruh. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. I might have said this publicly before, but I'm gonna say it right now too. My dad, he died in 2017.
Sorry to hear that.
Right, I'm 29 years old. You feel me? My dad had me when he was 35 and 39. So 10 years from now, like all these, that's 4 decades worth of life that he lived. And sometimes I find myself, especially after like posthumously, like when I've forgiven him for all the different things that we had, it's like, bruh, I wish that I knew what my dad was thinking when he was, because my dad made millions over the course of his life. Made millions, lost millions, spent millions. Like he lived a complete fucking life. You know what I'm saying? Like, bruh, all that movie star shit, all that celebrity shit, all the women and the partying and the owning property and the traveling and the building businesses, the selling business, the losing businesses, the like just everything that you could possibly think or whatever. Like he lived a good life. He used to say that all the time. Like I lived a good life or whatever. Like sometimes I just step back and look like, damn, like God is good. And I wish that I knew more about what he was thinking when he was in his 20s. Like what was going through his mind, like when he was parenting or when he was starting businesses or when he had a new idea, or like what got him excited, what made him sad, you know, like what did he do when he had his imposter syndrome and all that type of stuff, right? Like these are things that I really think about. Like I wish that I knew, and I can't ask him because he's dead. You feel me? And I look at my daughter. I had her when I was 20 years old, and I want her to, if she wants to, you know, it's not no pressure on her, but if she ever wants to go back and look and see, well, what did my dad think when he was 24 years old, or like what was he thinking when, you know, I did this, or like all that type of stuff. So I just documented it, and I couldn't find a better documenting source than Twitter. So That's the reason why like my tweets be like just my thoughts in real time. And then also, bro, I think it's powerful. I mean, not powerful. Like I'm not doing it because I want people to look at me a certain type of way. Like, oh, he's blah blah blah. But I do want them to look at me and just know that, well, that nigga's not pretending. You see what I'm saying?
I feel that.
And I mean, he said it one time. It's like, I just feel like I'm the only one that's not pretending out here. And it's like, if you can, let's say that you do like see me a certain type of way, and I'm not asking anybody to see me that way, but if you did see me a certain type of way and think, oh, he's one of those type of niggas, and you see inside my brain, it's like, oh, but he moves like this or he thinks like this.
Yeah.
I move like that too, or I think like that too. Or, oh, is that easy for him to go do that? Or whatever? And then, like, hopefully that type of, I don't want to say representation, but, like, you can identify with it. And it's like, if I can do it, then that means that you can do it. Because the only thing that really, like, got me to this space that I'm in right now is just because I chose to want to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish that more people were transparent about it, though.
Yeah, man. I mean, more power. Like I said, power to you, bro, because there's times where I don't have it in me to tweet it, but I wish because especially like to go back, even, I know you said like for your daughter to be able to go back and see your thoughts and that's great, but like even sometimes for me, I wish there was times where I did tweet, post, write something so I can go back and be like, damn, this was a moment where I was feeling down at, and I got and I got out of that. Yeah. So now if I'm down again, I know I can still get back out. Like I have that confidence in me, but it's nice to have that documentation of that to be able to go back to that.
And you know what else? Like on that same note, it also like shows your growth. And everything too. Yeah. Like, bro, I tell people all the time, like, I mean now, like I'm certainly the furthest thing. Well, I don't want to say the furthest thing, but like I've grown past this stage of my life. But I remember a time I used to be like a homophobe, like a super homophobe. You know what I mean?
I say the same thing all the time, bro.
And like I saw a post that I had from, I want to say like 12, 13 years ago. I was just like throwing around the F word and like just like, oh, stop being gay, or oh, that's so gay, or like shut up, or like all this type of stuff or whatever. And like it was me and my homeboy, we were just joking and all that type of stuff. But it was nasty. Like I'm embarrassed like that type of stuff was coming out of my mouth. Like, it was nasty. Like, like, ugh, you know, like that's me. Like that's gross. But because I know who I am today, know where I came from and whatnot, that also creates a sort of like empathy inside me. I can't forget like who I was and how I've grown and changed, and that also it forces me for real to be more patient with other people. Cause it's like if I didn't like have people that cared enough to talk to me and to walk me through stuff and challenge my thinking and to show me love, even amidst all that type of stuff, then who knows if I ever would have turned into this better person. And if somebody could take that time to pour into me, then why wouldn't I pour into them? And sometimes I forget that. Yeah. You know, like and it's easy to forget that when it's out of sight, out of mind, and you're not thinking about it. So being able to like look at those old receipts and shit too, like that's real important. On top of like just encouragement, it's like, yo, I said I was gonna do this in 5 years, and now 5 years later, like I'm doing that and then some. It's like, all right, that's positive encouragement, but it's also it's like, yo, here's some reminders and stuff too.
For sure. You know? Yeah, I feel you there, especially with the homophobic thing, because now that is something that's out there on Twitter, and I've thought about going back and deleting them, and I'm like, no, it's because
it's real, bro. That's my real life. Like that's really that's part of my story.
Exactly,
you know?
And I'm not that person anymore.
I'm not.
All. Like, and so good point there. Good point. The second topic that I wanted to talk to you about outside of entrepreneurship, you brought your daughter up a couple of times, man. And I know you do a lot with fathers and for fatherhood. And my daughters were just on my podcast a couple of episodes ago.
Oh, that's dope. How was that?
It was amazing, bro. I love her. One of the best episodes I ever had with my daughter, period, on my podcast was with my older daughter about a year ago. And it was about a month after she had started, maybe a couple of months after she had started going to therapy. And like we had this deep conversation about like her mental health and like her depression and how I wasn't there for her at a time where she needed me, like, because not that I was physically there, but like she didn't feel she can talk to me about depression. And then that she called me out on that episode. So like me and my daughters always have great, and always with my kids, we have great conversations. And my photography company is called Legacy Visions, and I did that because my kids are my legacy. And everything that I do with my kids are important. You see the picture of me and my little man there. So my kids are represented in everything that I do. We live in a time where I feel like as Black men, we're more. Our fatherhood is more put out there when it's negative, right? Nobody talks about the positive influence of the Black father, and stuff like that. So I wanted to have a bit of that conversation with you, and I know you're doing a lot of work for that. What do you think about the representation of Black fatherhood in the public media?
It's crazy. Have you ever seen like online, like when something's going viral and somebody's like, yo, I see more talk about the reaction to something rather than the original thing. Yeah. And that's kind of what I feel like with Black fatherhood is that, and I know it didn't used to be this way, but especially now that I see more people talking about the fact that Black fatherhood isn't represented positively than the actual lack of representation of Black fatherhood.
That's a great perspective to have.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, it's almost like we all have the talking point and like we're regurgitating it and whatnot. Because, I mean, in reality, and this is a good thing. Like, I'm saying this positive. Like, I don't know if I should say this, bro. As much as I've been talking like shit or whatever.
Say it, man.
But fuck it. Like I lead the Fatherhood Initiative at my job. I'll say that. I'll be a little bit vague. Like, if you're gonna find out what I do, then hey, like, cool. But I don't want to point you there. Yeah. So I run the Fatherhood Initiative, and like our grand like purpose, or at least the way that I'm running the program, is I want to create a community of active fathers here in Central Ohio, and in doing so, I'm doing a lot of like primary direct research about like dads and stuff here, learning about parenting and like best practices, and I mean also just engaging with dads and like learning their experiences, their wants, their needs, and everything. And I think that not only is there a plethora of active dads, I also think that there's a lot of representation too. Like, believe it, I mean, bro, even in movies, in television shows, and music, like, I'm sure if I challenge you to, you could name 5 Black TV dads off the top of your head.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You can name 5 Black rap dads off the top of your head. Like, I know that you could. You know what I mean? And that's because they're out there. And what I think is missing, though, what I do think is missing, this is part of what I'm trying to do, is that they're in a lot of ways we're existing in our own silos. You feel me? Like,
I feel that.
I might know you individually as a Black dad. You may know me individually, and like wholly as a Black dad too. Like, your kid is like a part of your world, extremely visible. Like, people know me and they know my daughter. You know what I'm saying? I call her my Khalifa. You know, the next in succession and whatnot. You feel me? I think that's more powerful than princess personally. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want. Anyways, we don't got to go down that. I think that you know dads and their kids, and you know them as units and whatnot. But what you don't know is this collective of dads. Like, you don't hear about dad groups. You don't hear about dad clubs. You don't hear about dad's night out, like dadisms and all that type of thing. And I think that that's the type of thing that is sorely being missed. And because you don't really have that community where like it's fathers that are connecting with each other, I think that you're also losing that fraternity, that fellowship. We're not sharing trade secrets. We're not talking through like our struggles, our wins, our successes, our breakthroughs. Like what you just said about the I wasn't there for my daughter when she was going through like a depressive episode and whatnot. You know, you saying that, if somebody listening may like just the idea that your kid can even be going through a depressive episode. You know, like just that awareness of it is that could open up your eyes or whatever. So now if I see you like doing something, then it's like, oh wait, like maybe I should approach this differently. For example, this one I was just thinking about yesterday, maybe the day before yesterday. My daughter, and she was sick, and sometimes she'd be dramatic about stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, girl, just like, like, all right, come on, or whatever. And I had to really just question myself, like, am I doing the right thing with that?
Yeah.
Am I perpetuating a negative stereotype, or a negative cycle? Because we know the stories about how Black women aren't believed when they go to like the hospital, or when they talk to the doctor and say I'm in pain, or this and this is happening. And it's like my daughter, who I'm her safe space. You feel me? She come to me, she says something's wrong with her, and like I'm challenging that, or like thinking, oh, like don't cry wolf and all that type of stuff. Like, am I planting those type of seeds? You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And I had never thought about that. And like I know I'm a lot more compassionate than most people are. Like I'm a lot more caring and nurturing, and that's just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
If I had never thought about that, then maybe my cousin who also has kids, he's a little bit more hard than me. Maybe he's never thought about it.
Yeah.
And maybe he doesn't even know that he's not thinking about it.
Yeah.
And those type of exchanges were missing by not having those communities and whatnot. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. A lot of sense. I think as fathers, like we don't have the same communities that women do. Like they have that space that in their groups they can go into and be like, look, today was a bad mental health day for me as a mother. I was about to kill my kids or whatever else. Like they have those spaces to have those conversations. And men, like you said, we're in our silos. We figure out everything on our own, and then we don't share that information. And somebody right next to us may be going through that exact same shit, but because we didn't talk about it, we could have helped them not go through those same mistakes that we went through.
Exactly. I asked my daughter, bro, and this is if anybody's listening to this, they got kids. Like this is something I hope that if you're not doing already, that you start doing. Just asking them questions, like little questions, like, yo, how do you feel today? Or, what's on your mind? Or whatever. I told her I was coming out here to do a podcast. I said, yeah, I might talk about fatherhood. She's like, I haven't seen that yet, Dad. I was like, no, girl, I'm not talking about the Kevin Hart movie. She's like, I was like, I'm talking about being your dad. Like, is there anything that you want me to say? She started talking, and I was like, hold up, bro. Let me record you and everything, because nobody's going to believe me if I say that. Like you said that. She was like, well, basically, if you ever see your kid and you think that they're being dramatic or that they're just overreacting about something, like understand that might be coming from a place and they don't all the way know how to communicate that to you. And, maybe just take the time to try to understand them instead of just being like, oh, she tripping. I'll say, all right, word. I'll make sure I tell the people that.
That's insightful as hell,
You
man.
see what I'm saying? It's my 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, like she blows my mind all the time with the things that she knows and things that she pays attention to. And I mean, I be learning from her. And it's also, that pivot's too crazy. It's like I can't think of a better example inside my head. But like if you're working with somebody, like you're gonna ask them, say like, is this a way that you want to be worked with? Like, is this a good work environment for you and all that type of stuff? Like you're gonna get that feedback.
Yeah, the way that I think I've worded it like this before, or at least I've thought it if I haven't said it out loud, is that if you pay attention and you have conversations with your kids, they'll teach you how to parent them.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just have to be open to listening to it and hear what they're actually telling you they need. And sometimes we get so caught up as parents trying to tell them what they need that we don't hear them telling us exactly. Now, of course, we may need to put some form of restraints on it, or
there's some things that they don't know that they don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I need to teach you this.
Exactly.
But listening to them, bro, they will teach you how to teach them.
Yeah.
That's facts, bro.
Yeah, it's just like any leader. You have to learn a way that is going to speak to the people that you're in charge of or that you're leading. And that's the same thing with parenthood. Like, parenthood isn't this thing where nobody gives us the rule book to being a parent. Even if they did, that would be only for their situation, right? Every kid is different. Every kid responds to different things in completely ways that just mean something to them. Like, you can't get so caught up in thinking you know everything as a parent to not just shut the hell up sometimes and listen to what they have to say. And it's like, I have 2 boys, 2 girls, and like my boys are I've done a lot to make sure that they know that they can get in touch with their emotions and it be okay. Because as great as a father as my dad was, he was very much one of those old school fathers. You don't feel, you don't talk, whatever else. And I make sure not to have that with my sons. But my daughters, when I tell you, some of the most philosophical conversations I've ever had have been with my 13-year-old daughter.
Bruh.
And I don't understand like what she's tapped into spiritually, because that's what it has to be, bro. I need to be tapped into it because she has a level of awareness that people 30, 40 years old I know don't have.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And it's like, I ain't gonna, that's wild. But I mean, like, bro, like, think about how we talk about black women just in general, like, about the power that they have, you know? And it's like, bro, and you made one, you feel me? Like, it's a black woman and shit. And like, why wouldn't she have that same, like, level of, I don't know the right word for it. I hope that you understand.
I understand. Well, I don't know the word for it. I know exactly what you mean though. Like,
like she has. There's like an essence that's
energy,
that's just like
that's inherent to black women.
Yeah. Like, for real. I don't know. I'm not trying to be superstitious with it, but I'm just saying.
No,
like,
I mean you're right. Like the power of the black woman. Let's just be real on this. And I hate it. Men think you quote unquote trying to cap when you talk positively about black women, but fuck it. Black women are fucking amazing, bro.
Bruh, I wouldn't be anything if it was like every single accomplishment, every single success story that I have, there's a black woman in my picture. Like, not a literal picture, but like in my life that is like supporting me, is not feeding me food, but like feeding me spiritually, or, you know, giving me support and encouragement or inspiration or insight, or giving me feedback. And you know, every single project, bro, like there's not a single one. Like, I won't do a project if there's not a black woman on staff. That's facts.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So
that's what's up, bro.
Yeah. That's my daughter, that's you know, she's the one that really like drives me to do like everything for real. Like,
So let me share my daughter. So I tell this story anytime like her birth comes up. So I was laying on my ex's stomach, her mother's stomach, just watching TV. And when I tell you, like, it was something, I don't know. I still to this day don't know what made me say this, but I sat up and looked at her and I said, "You're pregnant." She's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're pregnant." It didn't take like she had to be so early on at that point because she still didn't take a pregnancy test for like another 4 weeks after that. And that was still early, and she took it and she was pregnant. But there was something in her that I was drawn to spiritually that I felt, and we still have that connection to this day. And like, that's always like my daughter is my center.
Is she your oldest?
Yeah. Well, no, my son's my oldest.
Okay.
So yeah, my oldest son he's 15, she's 13.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's just something special about our connection. Like, I always say, like, we share a spirit, bro. And it's wild because there's times where I don't even know how I'm feeling. She'll call me or look at me, but like, "You all right?" I'm like, "I think so." She's like,
"Bruh." Listen,
it's
man.
crazy, man.
When she was 3, I think she was 3. She might have been 4. She was that young though. I remember I was so livid with her mom. Like, I was probably the angriest I've ever been because like I just felt like, I'm trying to think about what's appropriate. I'm transparent with my stories and everything like that. I feel it. But as I get older, I'm trying to be a lot more, you know, respectful about other people's stories.
Yeah,
and whatnot.
I feel that.
I'll just say, this is when we weren't in the place. We're great co-parents now. You feel me? I had an enemy in the city or whatever that was trying to, like, he was upset with me or whatever. And so one of the ways they was trying to get back at me was by like getting close with my ex. And she had no idea about these political games and everything that was being played and whatnot. And long story short, they showed up together at one of my family functions and shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was like, like I was livid or whatever. Not even because like, yo, go date whoever you want to. I don't care about that or whatever. But the fact that like she was the conduit for like him, like she was being weaponized by him, like you know, to try to hurt me or whatever. And like the whole situation was crazy. I can't go into details right here. Just the situation was crazy. But I was really mad. And like later on that week, like I was taking Avery over back to her house or whatever, and like we were just listening to music or whatever. She's like, "Dad," I was like, "What's good?" And like I try, you know, never to like me and her mom's like thing or whatever. That's completely separate from her. Like no matter what, she needs to know that her parents are a team that like care about her, as you know. So like that's always there. So she didn't know I was mad at her mom or nothing like that. But she was just like, "Yo, Dad," and I was like, "What's good?" And she was like, "You know how you always tell me?" I was like, "Huh?" She's like, "Yeah, you know how you always tell me that you don't let other people like change who you are. You just always supposed to be who you are." And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, you just remember that always." I'm like, "Huh?"
Wow.
And she was like, "Yeah, you know, like don't never let somebody else change your makeup and who you." And I swear,
that's crazy.
I'm not like embellishing. Like these are like her real words at like 3 or 4 years old.
That's crazy.
It was just wild, bro. To get that message right then. And like afterwards, I dropped her off. I was like, "All right, go upstairs real quick." Me and her mom, we talked for like an hour and a half or whatever, just like, you know, to piece things up. I was like, "I'm not trying to be for you, not trying to be for me or whatever." But that would never happen if it wasn't for my little 3 or 4 year old interceding.
That's crazy,
without
bro.
even knowing that there was like a problem. It was wild.
That's
bro.
wild, man.
It's really, really wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a story, bro.
Listen,
that's powerful.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really, really wild. I'm just mad appreciative of her. But what you saying about like you and your daughter having a bond, like sometimes I like to think that like me and Avery, like we see each other like eye to eye. Like if I tell her to do like she'll listen to me. Like she might give issues to other people and stuff for like challenge, ask why, all that type of stuff. But generally, like me and her got to understand it. Sometimes she be bucking up against me or whatever.
Yes.
And so I told her, I was like, "All right, girl, how about you just sit down right here?" And then she like sits on the edge of the bed, but then she like starts to like lean off of it, like just like pushing the envelope and stuff.
That's funny.
And I had to look at her. I'm like, "Girl, like understand."
You gotta love it, man. There's something special about girls, bro.
Bruh, I was like, "Yo, we don't have to go to war." You feel me?
Yeah.
Like, we're the same person. We don't have to go to war.
Yeah.
like everything you're trying to do, I've already done before. Like I know what you're thinking and what you're trying. And then she like tried to look hard, and then I tried to look hard, and then she smiled and I smiled, and then she gave me a hug. She's like, "All right, Dad," and then we was cool. It's just crazy, bro. Girls are.
Yeah, girls are. It's being a girl dad is wild, man.
Yeah,
it's wild, but I love every minute of being a father in general, man. I wouldn't change nothing in the world.
Were you scared when you found out you were having a girl?
Yeah. I was extremely hot headed as a kid, and you know, when I was 19 when my son was born, and it slowed me down a little bit, but not much. It slowed me down a little bit, but when my daughter was born, that's when I had to be like, okay, let me check some things. Because I remember because I have 6 sisters. Okay. I'm the only boy. My dad, I was talking to my dad one day, and my dad told me, he was like, after we knew she was having a girl and everything, he was like, "You're gonna have to get your shit finally together, son." I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" He was like, he's like, "It's cliche, but it's real. Girls learn their first love from their father." Yeah. He's like, "And if you're acting crazy as fuck like you have been, that's what she's gonna eventually be attracted to." And I was like, shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like it made me reevaluate myself, my actions. And also I know, you know, women don't really like it when men say this, but I just got to be real with it. Like having a daughter made me realize like the importance of Black women. Like, cause like I took my mom for granted. Like not that I ever disrespect my, like I love my mama to death, but like that's my mom. You feel me? So like having a daughter and being responsible for the growth and development of a Black woman is completely different.
Bro, I'm so glad that you said that, like that you preface it the way you did, because men get a lot of backlash when we say that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, bruh, at this point, and maybe just because I've grown to age where I don't give a fuck anymore, but it's like, bruh, this is our real human experience.
Yeah.
You feel me? Same way. I was raised by my mom. I have a little sister who was my heart. That's the first girl that I ever raised. You know what I'm saying? She's 5 years younger than me, but like, you know, I helped to raise her and stuff too. And my grandma, that's like, you know, that's my heart as well. Like the 3 most important people in my life are all women. And stuff. Like my best friends have always been women. Like I've always cared about and loved and appreciated women. It wasn't until I had a daughter, though. I mean, granted, I had her young, so I was 20, so I was still learning and growing and finding myself and all that. But things changed when I had a girl, bro. Like they just did. And I don't know. Maybe things would have changed if I had a boy. No, maybe it's just part of growing up and being a parent. But what I do know for certain, no hypothetical, is that my look on the world changed when I had a daughter. I thought that I was a good guy already. You feel me? I thought that I was respectful and that I was caring and that like I thought that was the way that you were supposed to treat women. Yeah. And then after I had my girl, after me and her mom split up and after some other exes and stuff too, like that same thing you said, I had to take honest look. It's like, bruh, the way that you're out moving and talking, well, not talking, but like just acting. Yeah. Like the consideration, like how would you feel if somebody did treat your daughter that way? And I don't know that might make somebody mad, but that's a real question that I ask myself.
Yeah, you have to. You have to ask yourself that.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, sure. Well, one, I think we live in a patriarchal society anyways, where men are put on a different like pedestal than women are. And to some degree, I think that I'm trying to be careful with my words and stuff here. I feel you feel me? I think that it's not that it's right, but it's like you can understand how like certain thoughts are formed based off of the lessons that you're taught and the way that, you know, the lens that you look at the world and all that. If you having a daughter is the catalyst for, I mean, hopefully you can have that revelation before you have a daughter, like as early as possible. Hopefully you're not taught that at all. Like I think we should be teaching our kids from like, you know, when they're first born that no, like when we're getting rid of all that toxic masculinity, we're getting rid of that patriarchy, we're getting rid of all that shit. But if you're not, bro, like, you know, you have to come to Jesus at some point. Yeah. And for a lot of men, they're coming to Jesus is when they have daughters and whatnot. And I don't know if people should be penalized for it.
Yeah, I mean,
like held accountable maybe, but
yeah, but everybody grows at a different rate, and there's always a catalyst. Whatever it is, there's going to be a catalyst.
There's
like
always a catalyst.
And I know people say like in a perfect world you should already, but the fact of the matter is this world is far from perfect.
Exactly.
Our thinking is far from perfect. Like,
and we're not having real conversations if we're saying, oh well, you should have. Oh, all right, maybe I should have already, but I didn't.
Yeah. So but I'm here now.
So where are we at? Yeah. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And what are you chastising at this point?
I'm here. Like I'm here now.
I'm telling you that you were right.
Yeah.
And not only am I telling you that you were right, I'm also now next to your side as an ally and an advocate or whatever to go and help to teach other people and stuff too.
Definitely. Definitely. All good points there, bro. All good points there.
Does that make me sound like a hotep, bro?
No, not at all. Not at all. You know, people who are simple-minded may try to say that, but no, bro. Like, it's not a hotep at all. Like, it's just the reality of it, man. It's the reality of it.
It really bothered me. Like the reaction that like Kanye got when he made Violent Crimes, or Hove got when he made 444. And they're like, look at this grown ass man just learning how to love and all that type of shit. It's like, bro, where's the empathy at? Yeah. Like, bro, this is a grown ass man that's only just now learning how to like love. You know, like that's a real thing or whatever. I digress.
I mean, and everybody tries to make everything sound like it's so simple. It's not. Like it's learning how to love is not. fuck, learning how to love yourself is hard as shit.
Talk about it.
Much less trying to figure out how to not only internalize that love, but then give that out to somebody else.
Especially when you don't have an example.
Yeah.
Nobody taught you how to do it, bro. Like,
yeah, we're the first generation that really understands like you said, the patriarchy, the toxic masculinity, the mental health aspect of things. Like, you try to talk. Like my dad's 60 now. If you would have tried to talk to him about mental health when he was my age, he would have looked at you like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man?"
Right. You talking that crazy shit?
Exactly.
Oh, you talking about the crazy pills? All right, bro.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. In like I said, perfect world, we all would have known the shit long ago, but we don't live in a fucking perfect world.
And the world that we want to live in, you know, like let's create a better tomorrow together. Yeah. You know, like maybe I just learned it yesterday. But that doesn't mean that we have to wait until another 20 years for the next generation for them to learn it. True. Like, yo, we could teach them that shit like today.
Yeah.
Like maybe take your ire off of the fact that it took so long for me, and instead let's say, well, now we're stronger together and let's go together and do it.
Yeah, that's a fact, bro. That's a fact, man. We hit some shit this episode, bro.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you, man. Go ahead and give them any parting words, anything. Give them your social media, all that good shit.
You know, we talked about entrepreneurship and stuff earlier, and I'm so bad. Like, I hate selling myself shit. I really, really do. But I didn't talk about like the business and stuff that I started. You know what I mean? And I should have said it earlier.
Yeah.
But like how you were talking about, it takes so long to like really do something. Like, you know, ETC. I mean, it's still like high key in development and whatnot. Yeah. You feel me? But you know, we're entering that final phase. Like, we're in Q4. Man, I do want to make sure that everybody on your show like knows about it. Because we're trying to build infrastructure to help people to discover community and navigate local culture. Because like what we first said when we first started, it's like there's so many beautiful things that are happening here in Columbus. And it's almost like if you don't know the right people and you don't know where to look for it, then you'll miss it. And there's nothing you could do about it except for have FOMO and be like, sorry, like, damn, I wish I had known about that so that I could have participated, or so I could have listened to it, or so that I could have bought that, or so on and so forth. So we want to make it easy for people to be able to, you know, participate in the creative community and stuff here.
Definitely.
So,
definitely.
etcbyus.com, and go there, find out more information. Your podcast is up on there. You know, the podcast directory, playlist circulator. Yeah, there's a lot of shit that's there. But other than that, we're on social media too. On Instagram, etc.by.us.
Okay.
And then on Twitter, it's the ETC by us. And then as far as me, I'm just Ekis everywhere. I'm not really anybody important. Like, you know, if you follow me on Twitter, just know that I tweet for myself and my daughter. It's not for you guys. But you guys can, you know, enjoy the ride if you want to.
That's what's up.
So
that's what's up. Man, thank you so much again, bro. It's been a long time
coming,
man. We're going to have to do it again.
Yeah, we got to.
This was fun, man.
I feel like there's a lot of shit that we didn't even get a chance to touch.
This is definitely a tip of the iceberg episode. Because even though we got pretty deep, especially for like people who aren't used to these type of conversations, but there's so much more under the surface that we can still get into.
We need to talk about, I want to come on here and talk about some Columbus shit. Like,
for sure.
Like, especially you've been here for a while now and building here and what it takes to build here in the city. Like I said, everybody's not built for it, bro.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You know,
that's so right. And the thing I love about it too is that the people who are like from here, like born and raised, are so protective over certain things of the city. And as somebody who like comes in and has I talk about Columbus like people think I was born and raised because I love this city, bro. I love this city, but I love how protective people are over it too.
Yeah,
man.
it's a prove it city.
Yeah,
like, that's what I call it. It's like, bro, you can't just come here and say you're doing some shit. Yeah, like, you got to come here and like earn our support, earn our trust, earn like our attention for real. Yeah. Because we're not just giving it to everybody. Because like you said, we're very protective about our shit. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that goes understated, bro. People say there's nobody that got pride here. It's like, nah, that's not
they
true.
Crazy, man.
That's not true.
They crazy. Like, I think because this university city that so many people think like people who've been here for a while, they confuse like people who actually have lived here. Mm-hmm. And I did too coming in. Like, there were people that I first met and they're like, yeah, I graduated college and lived here. And I'm like, oh, so this is what the Columbus is like. And then when I finally started fucking with like people who are really, really born and raised Columbus, it's a different type of vibe.
It's a whole different type of vibe, bro. Oh, I forgot to say this too. I have another podcast, Columbus Can't Wait. We're starting recording season 3 right now. We're talking about Black spaces on season 3. It's all about increasing political literacy here in the city, especially with regards to like local and state politics, helping people understand what's going on. Because like if we don't know what's going on, then
that's true.
Like it's just we're gonna get fucked. So
that's true.
We're trying to break down those walls. So yeah, go check out that Columbus Can't Wait. It's on all podcast streaming services. And go to ETC and look for it there too. So
that definitely, I have the links for everything in the description of this podcast. This has been another episode of The Awakened Soul. I love you guys so much for supporting me, as much as you guys supporting the brand, as much as you guys have over the years I've been doing this. But this has been another episode of The Awakened Soul. We out here. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.